hop on anything, or if you want me to just do a little shout out, we've got Julie from the Purdue MEP. Julie,
Sure. Hi, guys. Can you hear
hey,
me okay?
we can hear you loud and clear. So, Julie, how are you today? Happy Thursday.
I'm great. How are you guys?
Gosh, if I was any better, I don't, you might have to call 911 if I was any better, but I am doing fantastic right this second. So,
Awesome. Well, thanks for putting this on for us, Kurt and Wendy. We're happy to have you guys. We love your guys' programming. And I put Purdue MEP's website in the chat. If anybody has any questions or how Purdue MEP can help, just let us know.
awesome. Well, Julie, thank you. And so, guys, if you have not engaged with the Purdue MEP, boy, we strongly encourage you, invite you, welcome you to do so. Their team is amazing. They can help you with ISO, cyber, all sorts of great things. Today, we're going to take a deep dive on marketing. We've brought in a high-level subject matter expert. I'm going to introduce her in 1 second. And so again, I see a lot of friends here are dropping Heidi, Brad, Tim. You're dropping your website, dropping your LinkedIn in the chat box. We encourage, if you're just coming in, I'm letting a couple more people in here and encourage you. Let us know where you're coming from. Drop in the chat. So guys, let's go ahead. I'm going to do the intro. And so first off, Wendy Covey, I have to say this. I'm letting a couple more people in. Happy St. Patrick's Eve. Okay. Happy St. Patrick's Eve to everybody. It is March Madness. Now, I know if our friends here coming at us from Purdue, they are super excited because like they've got bragging rights. They're #1 seed in the March Madness tournament. For others, if you're rooting for somebody else, maybe you're not so fortunate. But what I want to do is I want to give an intro. Hang on, let me let a couple more people in here. And we've got a good crowd going, Wendy. Let me see. Let's see.
Awesome. Yeah, my Aggies from Texas A&M are in it. So I have my bracket going.
Not the Texas A&M. All right. And speaking of, I just saw WIM. I'm assuming that's Women in Manufacturing from Texas just joined us. So somebody from Texas joined. So guys, if you are coming to us from outside of the great state of Indiana, there is an MEP near you. MEP is Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We encourage you, welcome you, and strongly invite you to check out your local MEP. Let's give an intro to our esteemed guest today. So my dear friend, Wendy Covey is, and I'm saying, Wendy, you can plug your ears. You're a very modest, humble woman, but she is just a powerhouse is a word I'm going to put on Wendy Covey. If you have a chance to ever see Wendy in live, in person at an event as a keynote speaker, she is just, it's multiple drop the mic moments, and she's amazing. And so we are very blessed, very fortunate to have her here with us today. She is the founder and CEO of True Marketing, a great high-level digital marketing firm out of Texas. And Wendy, I got to say that Wall Street Journal's 10 most innovative entrepreneurs in America. Boy, what an esteemed accomplishment that is. I know you're a contributor to Forbes. You have a book on the streets. It is Content Marketing Engineered, and you have a podcast by the same name. Guys, with that, please give a big round of applause, a warm welcome to our friend Wendy Covey. Wendy, how are you today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm so honored to be here and glad you guys can make it. So it should be a fun hour.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get this started. And again, if you just came in, you're just joining us, again, please put your LinkedIn in the chat box. It's a great opportunity to capture 30 new besties, new good friends here. It might be a customer, it might be a vendor, might be just, hey, somebody like a pen pal, right, Wendy? So Wendy's going to dig into like some great high level strategies for you guys today. Make it interactive. My name's Kurt Anderson. I've dropped my LinkedIn. I've dropped Wendy's LinkedIn in the chat. I'm going to be moderating. We strongly encourage you. We're going to stick around for questions at the end. If you have questions in the middle, I'm going to be watching the chat. Feel free to interrupt us, stop us, but we want you just feeling 10 times better about marketing than you did 2 minutes ago. So Wendy, my friend, take it away.
All right, let's do this. Well, I don't feel like I titled this presentation very accurately. So yes, we'll talk about how to reach engineers and technical buyers, but I think it's as important to say, how do we reach and build trust with these technical buyers? So I'll be touching on both of those things. And thank you for the introduction. So this is me, and you could see me, so I can just skip right over this. True Marketing is my agency. We only work with highly technical companies, and we do a host of digital marketing services. So won't belabor that. But I do want to let you know that in today's presentation, I'll be showing you quite a few research slides, and most of these have come from my 2023 State of Marketing to Engineers report. So just to quickly touch on this report, if you haven't seen it yet, we conduct this annual report with Global Spec. We've been doing so for the past 5 years. And prior to that, we did this report with other partners. So we have a lot of data that we can compare and benchmark year over year. We had over 850 respondents that were engineers in an engineering, either in R&D or manufacturing. So an audience that you're looking to connect with. So very relevant today. So today I'll be touching on 3 main themes: how to develop a content strategy, how to meet your prospects where they are, and how to become a trusted advisor, and how to do this utilizing content marketing strategies. So let's dive into some research just to get us all in this mindset. You are probably not surprised to hear that much of the buying process happens online. So you can see here in orange, we asked a research question: how much of the entire buying process happens online? And you can see that most respondents said that either 26 to 50% of the buying process, or even more, that 51 to 75% of the buying process is happening online before they choose to speak with sales. And in these gray triangles, you can see the trends year over year. So you can see the biggest change was in this 51 to 75%. So more and more of this buying process is happening online. Now, what engineers are doing is they're going to Google and they're searching, right? And there's some really unique behavior with technical audiences that don't mimic the average B2B buyer. And that's how deeply they're willing to go and search before they start over. As you can see here, an engineer is more likely to go to page 5 or beyond rather than stop at page 1 or 2 or even 3. So if you're despairing because you're a small manufacturer and you don't get to your company until page 3 or page 4, the engineers are digging. You know, why is this? They're looking for credible sources. They're looking for deeply technical content on applications that, you know, you just don't find right away. They're distrustful of ads. And, you know, I thought that, you know, how Google now has these snippets where they answer these short questions right up front. I thought that snippet behavior, you know, the behavior would have changed because of the snippets for people to stop sooner. But we see, as we compare this to the last time we asked this question in 2019, engineers are even going deeper than they did a few years back. So the snippets really didn't matter. Another research data point is why engineers want to interact with sales. So we asked, think about your most recent vendor purchase. What motivated you to interact with a salesperson for the first time? And there were 2 leading reasons: their desire to validate information gathered where? Online. And then also the technical complexity of the solution. So this speaks to the type of interaction they want to have with that salesperson. They're expecting them to be technical. They're expecting to help get some guidance on this purchase. And then, of course, pricing and inventory. You know, if you can't get that online, and that's another reason why they're calling. But imagine that's kind of annoying, actually, that you have to talk to someone rather than just finding out online. So in summary here, the technical buyer is feeling like they have the power. They want to do a lot of searching online, and they want to be independent until they shortlist and they're ready to talk to your salesperson. So let's think about your website. Well, your website may be fancy and sexy like this car, or, you know, it may be practical. It may get you from point A to point B. And your website, how it looks, how you can navigate it, says a lot about your company. So if you're claiming that your company is advanced and technological and cutting edge, but your website looks more like the Yugo, yeah, that may not be giving the best impression. So something to reflect on there. But your website, whether it's the fancy kind or the practical kind, you know, without content, it's nothing more than an ornament, you know, sitting in the driveway. So your web content is what fuels your website. And so we're going to talk a lot here about content. And there's a lot going on this slide, but I love this because as you think about the progression of a story, or you think about a buyer and they're going through their journey, they have a problem. They need to solve something. They need a product to design into something, or they have a manufacturing process that's broken, or whatever it is. And that problem gets amplified to the point that they need to be searching for a solution, and they do research. They finally shortlist. They know they need a solution. Then who are they going to go with? And who is that partner to help them? They implement it, and then they see results. And all these little blue dots represent pieces of content that buyer needs to get from one stage to the next. And that's a lot of content, but this is how it works, right? They're needing lots of content. And so that's the burden placed on you. If you would like to be seen as a trusted resource, and you want to be there from the beginning to get that next design win, or to help them solve this challenge, then you need to be there early and often. Now, a lot of manufacturers make the mistake of going right here to this search for a solution. And I just talked with a company, and I'm not going to say who they are. I don't want to call them out, but yesterday I had this conversation, and he said, we just redesigned our website, and I don't understand why people aren't going to it. They're not staying on it long. It's straightforward. It has all the specs on all my products. Everything's there. They can easily find the product name and the specs. And I'm like, yeah, but by the time they're to the point where they're looking at specs, that's really late in their journey. And why should they trust you? You have no case studies. You have no application notes. You have no demonstrated expertise in what they do. And so you're just, what are you competing on here? Spec to spec? And he kind of started nodding. And so we talked about the idea of building trust and what that looks like. So this all sounds great. A lot of you know content marketing is important. I know we need content, but Wendy, content is really hard to produce. It's hard to figure out what to write about, how to write it. It needs to be really technical. It needs to be accurate. This is a heavy lift that you're asking me to do. So I want to give you a few tools to help make this process easier. And I wish we had a full day for this, but we don't. So I'm going to be moving pretty fast here. But I want to give you a two-step approach to content development. Of course, I'm here in Austin, Texas. I love to two-step, so you have to put up with the cowboy boots here. But we'll be talking about how to identify content topics, and then touch briefly on some shortcuts for writing and publishing content. So what we at True Marketing use to build a content strategy is something called a topic cluster. And this is essentially a mind map. And if you know that brainstorming tool. And within this, think that you have a main theme, and this isn't the name of your product, but it's what are you trying to solve? What is that customer pain point, or what is that application? And then what are all the topics that you can write about it? So here is an example, avoiding and managing obsolescence. So this is a product company that wanted to help address obsolescence issues. And you can see all the different topics that we brainstorm with them on. So system modularity, costs, module options, addressing the entire product lifecycle, and so on and so forth. And what's great is we're trying to fully address this topic along different stages in the buyer's journey. And this also is a great SEO tool, because by fully addressing this theme, we're going to do better in search as well. So when we're brainstorming this, we want to go beyond topics and actually think about, what is our opinion on this topic? What can we write about? What is our opinion? What plays well to our solutions? And so you see here that next level of, okay, system modularity, but then what about it? What will we be writing about? So then we want to think about, okay, that's great, but let's make sure that we're covering each stage in the buyer's journey. So a moment ago, I showed you this progression, and it was kind of from a buyer standpoint, but now I want to show you the same thing from your standpoint, right? You're trying to attract leads and nurture them, convert them to qualified leads, build trust, sales closes them, and then you want to delight them. You want them to keep coming back and remembering you for that next purchase. And so there's types of content that work really well for each stage of the buyer's journey. So as we're thinking about that topic cluster, we want to map those topics to different types of content to have coverage. Now, if you're wondering, what what content do engineers actually like? So we asked that question in our research. We said, what forms of content do you find most valuable when researching to make a significant work-related purchase? And data sheets, okay, data sheets are kind of the table stakes. You have to have them. You need to have those specs about your product. But beyond that, what strikes me about this is the popularity of so many different types of content. So you see CAD drawings and demo videos, product reviews and testimonials and white papers and how-to videos and even more videos. Printed catalog. Actually, I'm kind of sad to say that it made it higher on this list than I thought. That really surprised me. And I think printed catalogs in particular speak to people who can't be online, who need things perhaps on a manufacturing floor, need something physical that they can get to fast. So a lot of different types of content here, but I want to further drill into this one. We asked in the 2022 report, how much time, we asked one, do you watch videos for work weekly? And 96% of engineers said yes. So we're at, 96%, that's so close to 100% weekly for work. And you can see how much time is spent on watching video. More than 5 hours to that 1 to 5 hours is a tipping point over less than 1 hour. And we're seeing the trend become more video, longer video, especially for younger engineers. So if you're not yet creating video, this is something you definitely need to be looking at in your 2023 strategy. So when you going back to this topic cluster, think about, again, what types of content you want for each of these topics. And don't forget that video should be a part of this decision too, whether it's repurposing a white paper into video or a case study for that matter, or creating video as that first piece of content. Okay, so the next step is to write. And I really do need like 6 weeks to teach you how to write. And we have a writing course if you're interested in that. But just a couple of points I wanted to touch on when we talk about writing. The first is, who should be the published author of content? And I have author in quotations because often ghostwriters are used. But as you can see, an engineering expert at a vendor company is the #1 person that technical buyers want to hear from, followed by a technical product manager. So what we found to be the most efficient is to have a subject matter expert paired with a writer that produces content. Because that engineering expert, they didn't get their degree necessarily to write content all day. They're not maybe excited to do that, and they're an expensive resource. So pair them with someone who is a great interviewer, who can take notes from them, take source material, combine with that interview, and write solid pieces. Now, I have another shortcut for you, and this is getting a lot of attention right now, and it's how do we use AI for content? And so we've been testing this out. We continue to test it. We have a guide on our website that you can go find that tells you about our testing and what we found that's good or bad. But I wanted to just touch on the landscape and give you some advice on how to use these tools. So we absolutely feel that they're great for brainstorming and being a sidekick to you. So in particular, ChatGPT is a wonderful tool for brainstorming. So think that blank page syndrome, or finding research with, aggregating other sources, getting definitions, things that aren't proprietary to your company that are, what is a dynamometer? Well, dynamometer is a dynamometer. You're not making up your own definition of what that is. That's very different than your proprietary solution, which is going to be something that an AI generated content engine is not going to be good at writing. Grammarly, been around a long time now, a great AI writing tool to help you make sure that you have commas in the right place and you're using the right grammar and all that stuff. And then Writer and Jasper, these are generative AI tools that help you write. So ChatGPT, good for question and answer, things like that. But when we're getting into actually writing copy, Writer and Jasper do better. However, this is what we've found in our tests so far. Generative AI is great for ideation, somewhat good for research. The data is older, at least with the 3.5 version. I'm not sure about 4.0. So it just came out. I think it's still data limited, but if you know otherwise, chat it to me. Brainstorming creative headlines, derivative social posts off of a piece of content you already wrote, definitions, grammar, branding rules, great. Okay, generative AI, where it's not working right now, are emerging technical topics where there's not a lot of information out there. What it may find is a lot of your competitors' information. It's purposely not plagiarizing, so it won't have your brand messaging and the words that you want to use and repeat to reinforce your brand language. Generative AI is not good for that. It is good for branding rules, like we always call the product this and capitalize it this way, but not for brand tone and voice and the words that are used. Also, you need a human there editing for meaning and for flow. And we have just seen a lot of erroneous data coming from the long form technical content. And then finally, we've seen that most of the content is written on a 6th grade level. And that's definitely not what you want to do when you're writing a white paper for an engineer. So happy at the end of this talk today. If you guys want to dig in more on this subject, we're watching it closely. It changes every week, and we have a lot more information on our website about it. But we're going to move on now and talk about, okay, we've magically now written some content. Now, what do we do with it? How do we attract people to our website? How do we go to where they are and build trust with our content? So let's go back to the research. We asked, where do you routinely seek information when researching a product or service for a work-related purchase? We ask this every year. It's a very popular benchmarking study. And so you see here that supplier and vendor websites is number one. So back to your website and the content on your website being the most important investment you can make. This is followed by another online source in trade publications, followed by another online source, an industry directory websites, and associations, another great place. And then we get into newsletters. So, the big takeaway here is your website, so important. Down towards the bottom, you may be surprised to see conferences, trade shows, LinkedIn, podcasts. I have some other data in the following slides about that. It isn't that people aren't going there. It's the routinely seeking information piece that puts these websites on top. Okay, so a website trend that I hope you guys are doing and that I want you to consider are pillar pages. So this is a big trend, not only for SEO, but also to fully demonstrate your expertise in a topic to your potential next customer. So these are long scrolling pages on a subject. And I picked one of the registered attendees. So I don't know if Cindy's with us, but Cindy, if you're here, great job on this pillar page. And you can see, you can go look at this page. I have it. It's hard to put in a PowerPoint, so you guys can go navigate to it. But they employed a pillar page strategy for their industry pages. So that I picked one of their industries, aerospace and defense. And you can see right up at the top of the page here, we have information about, trends and their products and their solutions for this space. You can dive in further. You can look at all their products. You can look at documents and certifications. It looks like I repeated some things, but that's my fault on my screen grab. They had a reference list, associations, their different brands. So what a nice way to have an all-in-one place to get information about how they approach aerospace and defense. Often other things that are included here would be white papers, case studies, and FAQs are really popular, where you're actually trying for that Google snippet, where you have an answer that's very short, and then it links to a longer blog post, and you're trying for that Google snippet where you can quickly be the resource to answer that.
Hey, Wendy, real quick. So Cindy is here today. So Cindy, great job. If you want to drop your website in the chat. And speaking of, if you guys popped in a little bit late, Again, we have the esteemed, wonderful Wendy Covey here today. Thank you for joining us here at the Purdue MEP. Drop your LinkedIn, drop your website if you did pop in a little bit later. And again, Wendy's going to be stick around. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'm keeping an eye in the chat. My name's Kurt, and I would love to, Wendy and I would love to address any questions. So don't be shy. Please drop those questions in the chat, and Wendy, take it away.
Okay, great. Well, glad you're here, Cindy, and good job on your pillar pages. Let's move on to social. So we asked, how valuable are the following social media platforms when seeking information on technologies, trends, and products? And there's a lot going on this slide. So over on the left, you see extremely or very valuable in the green and the blue. And over on the right, light blue, over on the right, you have either not valuable at all in the dark blue, or in the gray, I don't use this platform at all. It's another benchmarking question we ask every year, but we also add things and take them away as social media trends change. So as you can see here, YouTube, LinkedIn, and GitHub are the most popular social channels that engineers are using. TikTok was new this year, so we added in, and you can see that 71%, they're just not using TikTok for work. So might be other reasons for them to go into TikTok, not for work, really Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, not really going there as much either. So I had Clubhouse on here and no one even knew what it was. So I took it off. And, I think that this next year, ChatGPT and not that that's social, but I think asking some questions around that will be really interesting as just everything changes. We dug in a little further on YouTube, LinkedIn, and GitHub by age. So you can see just across the board, the use is highest for younger engineers compared to older engineers. And LinkedIn and YouTube are the most popular. So probably no surprise there. So a lot of us are using LinkedIn quite heavily these days. And so I wanted to go one level deeper here. And you ever have that thing where someone sends you an invitation and you're like, oh, okay, is this a sales thing? What's going to happen? And then you're like, okay, well, they're in Austin, I'm in Austin. Maybe I'll say yes, or, oh, we're both part of the same group. And then you say yes, and then you regret it because wow, within 5 minutes, you get that sales pitch. So we've all been there. We know how annoying this is. So this is my little public service announcement of please don't do this. If there's salespeople listening, this breaks trust so fast. People don't want to be sold to. They're on LinkedIn and network and to learn. And if you're wondering what type of content they would like to see on LinkedIn, well, we asked about that. We said, hey, engineer, when visiting LinkedIn, what makes you stop scrolling? And the top answers were research data, product and service information, believe it or not, industry news, visual things, and company news. So there's a lot of diversity here. The things they didn't like, and I found this so interesting, are memes and employee shout outs and industry polls. And, a lot of marketers love those polls. It's like, oh, let's get interactive on LinkedIn. But apparently technical buyers find those kind of annoying. So interesting. And then job postings is kind of further down. And once upon a time, that was really why we were using LinkedIn, right? It was just to find jobs or find employees. So a lot of things have changed. So my advice to you on LinkedIn is, one, people want to follow and interact with people over brands. And then if you're a salesperson, remember that slide earlier, they want a technical advisor, not a salesy kind of salesperson. So a best in class, and if you guys want to go look at Michael Knight and follow him, he's in the electronics components industry. He does a masterful job at LinkedIn. What he does is always have a point of view on something. And it might be content that his company has developed or musings, an opinion that he has on something, and he'll post on it with his point of view, and he'll get a lot of interaction. Or he'll take somebody else's content and he will add his own point of view to it. And it's great for that person because he's amplifying their reach, getting in front of new audiences, but it's also Michael helping to show his expertise, his industry leadership. So I would encourage you to if you're a marketer, to encourage your employees to interact on LinkedIn, to use your content, but not just post it, have a point of view about it. And it's kind of this interesting thing because younger people in a company are more apt to do this. They're not as intimidated by the idea of sharing and that it'll be there forever. They don't overthink it, as much. But they may also leave you after 2 years. And so if you put all your eggs in the basket of the young engineer or the young employee, that, they may just leave, take your audience. So I think it's also important to identify who from the company is a long-termer that we want to make sure is interacting on LinkedIn, and let's build up thought leadership with that person, kind of like Michael Knight is doing for his company. It doesn't have to be the president and the CEO necessarily, just somebody who has a point of view and is willing to get there and authentically connect.
Hey, Wendy, we have a couple of questions in the chat box that I thought we could hit right now that are fresh. What qualifies as research data or examples of research data? So what qualifies and how about examples?
Yeah. So, what qualifies, I would say, is research that has some sort of credible source behind it. So whether that's the institution publishing it, like who doesn't look at Harvard Business Review stuff, right? Credible source. Or with the research that I'm showing you, I made sure to show you my in sample size to say, look, this is a credible research report because the in sample is really big. So those are two types of credibility. A university, Purdue comes out with a study. Well, that's a credible source. So it can be a variety of locations, just
so like my uncle did something on a weekend that doesn't cut it. Wendy, is that what you're maybe? So
I mean, I wouldn't call it research, but it's authentic,
It is authentic. So, I'm a John Maxwell fan for anybody that follows, and he has a great line that ties in: a certainty that is not tested cannot be trusted. A certainty that is not tested cannot be trusted. So great question there. And again, guys, we're going to stick around to the end, but keep these coming. We have one more from our friend Cindy, who crushed it with her website. Did you say that customer testimonials aren't something that engineers are interested in? I was thinking they would want to see testimonials to help validate solutions.
So great, Cindy, great question. So I think it doesn't. So what this is saying is it's not stopping them from scrolling as often as some of these other things. However, if we go back, let's see, go back in time to what type of content engineers like. Let's see, where was that? No, that wasn't it. It's a test my order here. Where do we have product review and testimonial was what, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Right. So it's all in the context of where they want to see that information.
Yeah, I think that's a great clarification, Cindy, and a wonderful question. So think about somebody lands on your site is you want that social proof. You're creating social trust, right? If I tell you how wonderful I am and you're like, all right, Kurt, knock it off. But when I tell you how wonderful Wendy is, I'm social proof of saying how wonderful she is. So like getting those testimonials on your website, phenomenal. And I think Wendy, as you pointed out, it's just like, it's not so exciting to see it on LinkedIn. I think, is that what you're?
Yeah. And it didn't do terrible. I mean, at 13, it says 53 plus 13, what are we, 60, 66% said always or sometimes. So it didn't tank. It's just relative to these other things. So great question, Cindy.
Good point.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about podcasts. So this one may surprise you. We are now up to 73% of engineers will listen to a work-related podcast weekly. 73%. This is up from the 50-ish% a year ago, which was up from in the 30s 2 years ago. Now, I think this adoption has to do with a couple of things. One, there's more podcasts out there that are work related. A lot of our technical publications are creating them. Companies are creating them. These engineers are finding them valuable. And also, I think probably in their personal lives, just more and more people are adopting podcasts. They're not listening for super long. So you can see most are listening 45%, say less than 1 hour, but the growing trend is between 1 and 5 hours. So my advice here is not to run off and start a podcast, especially if you are not yet have your website in a good place where you're publishing content in a steady cadence, you're blogging, things are up to date. Like definitely that's the place to focus. But what you can do, we just spoke about a company spokesperson, is seed that person on other people's podcast and get in front of their communities. It's good practice for that person. And then maybe when you're ready, you can start a podcast. Just know, as a person who hosts a podcast, there's a lot of work involved in, what the editorial calendar. Are we bringing on guests? Are we speaking ourselves? What are we speaking about? The production, there's just a lot that goes into it. So anyway, good to keep in your mix and start small with other people's communities. Okay, couple more research slides. We asked, okay, I plan to attend blank in-person industry events in 2023 in comparison to what I did in 2019. And you see that most say that they're going to about the same events as 2019 or more. So I think that this is a good sign that trade shows are coming back. We asked a couple other questions that you can see in the research report about what makes them choose one show over another and that sort of thing. But I also found it interesting. The Content Marketing Institute has a manufacturing content marketing report, and they said that 55% of manufacturing marketers are planning to increase their in-person event investment in 2023. So definitely events are coming back. Okay, another thing we asked is, will you complete a form and in exchange for information? And if so, what type of information will most likely get you to fill out that form? So I love this statistic. A lot of engineer business owners just don't think anyone will fill out a form. And I'd like to debunk that. So 83% will. And these are the types of content that they're most likely to fill out that form for. So you can see the more technical, the better when it comes to that. All right. So for all of the salespeople here, after the engineer fills out that form, it does not mean they're a qualified lead and they're ready to talk to you necessarily. So let us marketing people nurture those leads and let them show buying signs before you call them so that you don't break trust. So I love this. I found this. We have to defrost those leads. Like they're too cold. If they just come on, download that white paper and that's it. And a great way to do this is through email marketing and specifically newsletters. So people abused email marketing over COVID, like it was bad. And that's why I have this data that I showed 2021, 22, 23. There was a bit of a slide on the number of e-newsletters that engineers subscribe to. I'm happy to say it's now leveled out. So it used to be that, it was 3 to 5, even the 6+ group was pretty high. And now we're seeing most engineers are in the 1 to 5 range, somewhere in there, and how many e-newsletters they subscribe to. So when you're thinking about your newsletter, it's really important to look at the metrics of how many people are opening this thing, how many people are clicking through to my website, and the more engaged they are, and meaning the higher those percentages are, that's permission to email more often. It's showing that you're doing the right things with your content, you're engaging them. You might want to go from quarterly to monthly or monthly to biweekly. However, the converse is also true. If you have low open rates and low click-through, then something's wrong. You need to consider customizing that information to that audience or thinking about how to do something that's more educational and less promotional. Okay. So I want to talk about engaging with sales once again. So I already showed you this, that, okay, I want to validate what I gathered online. But that other one, the tie for number one, is the technical complexity of the solution. So I want to talk to sales because I need some help. So oftentimes I think, well, gosh, maybe we need to all change our sales titles to something that sounds more consultative. But if there's nothing behind that, right, then we're going to lose trust pretty fast. So just reflect on, who your sales force is, what their level of expertise is, and how they handle, and excuse me, I have an ERA conference logo here. I just presented this 2 weeks ago at ERA and forgot to take that off. But, you may need to, or do they say, I don't know, but I'll find the answer? Or are they making stuff up? Like what does that look like when you have a consultative sales cycle and, making sure that it's not all flash and no substance. Now, when people first interact, what is that method of communication that engineers prefer? This is something we ask almost every year and benchmark this, and it's always been, okay, email, email, email. And we added LinkedIn direct messages to this, and you can see how well that did at a whopping 1%. It did even worse than online text chat, which is at 3%, and that's a drop from 5% last year. And I think, guys, that speaks to when they want to interact, it's not a quick question. It's a complex interaction. It isn't a sales support. So like a support question, sure, customer support, let me just get on text. Hey, where's my shipment? Stuff like that. And this is really, I want to get on email and then later by phone and hash things through. You can see this by age to see that it really didn't differ all that much. The 35 and under was more open to a virtual meeting and a video call, but even they want to start with email, and phone still edged out the virtual meeting. So there you go. Now, I hope that with this consultative approach, that when you finally close this sale, it looks something like this, right? It's your customer and your salesperson, and they're both embracing because they were on this journey together. They looked at all the content. They had this wonderful set of conversations that pushed them to buy. And we're just all happy. We're in a trusted place, which will set up repeat sales later on. And please, salespeople, make sure to update the CRM, because we want to know that closed and why it closed and all the information about that persona that we can use to make smarter decisions, full circle back to the next marketing campaign. So I love this. So in conclusion, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, I have just 6 steps to getting started with content marketing. So if you're new to all of this, I know it's a lot. I do have the book and the podcast, so definitely check that out. But here's the 6 steps, and I wasn't able to talk about all of them, but I just wanted to touch on 1. Make sure that you have your core brand messaging, your value proposition, your points of differentiation down, because all of your content starts with this. Who are you as a company? Who are you serving? How are you truly different? How are you unique? And then everything else should just, resonate, repeat those same things and further provide evidence to those points of differentiation. The second one is evaluate your marketing foundation and shore it up. So if your website looks like the Yugo, might be time for redesign. If you don't have a CRM in place, if you don't have marketing automation and you can't tell what's happening with email marketing, that's a big problem. So make sure that you have a sound marketing foundation, and know that Google has changed their algorithm drastically over the past 2 years. So if you haven't run your website through a grader and looked at how it's performing, you may be in for a nasty surprise. Also, while I'm touching on Google and metrics, Google is moving to a new platform for metrics. So it's called GA4, and it's replacing the old Universal Analytics platform. So everything that you're reporting on now is going to change. It's apples and oranges. So even what they're calling a visitor is going to change. All of this is happening in July. So now is the time to move to that platform so you can start figuring out your baseline and what you're moving to. So I can talk more about that if you guys have questions, but those are those marketing foundational things to do. And then build campaigns with these theme specific topic clusters. And look, start with one. What is that topic? What is that theme? What persona are you addressing with that theme? So who's your target audience? What can you talk about? create that content along the buyer's journey, publish and promote that content, use that to build trust, and then please nurture and engage those prospects before you have sales reach out. So that's it. That's all I have. I have resources, tons of resources on True Marketing that you can find, but I wanted to reserve plenty of time to answer questions. So let's see where we're at. Yes, good amount of time. So guys, let's get into it. What questions do you have?
Wendy, so a couple fun comments. So our dear friend Karen says, preach, Wendy, preach. Tim says, this is great stuff. My company makes heavy use of website presence and website forums to generate sales leads. This is eye-opening. He loved your, I think it was the DeVito. We loved all your slides. Whitney, our dear friend Whitney drops a question. How about this one? What if the powers that be won't get on board with a CRM? Boy, Wendy, I can't imagine you've ever encountered that one before, right?
Right. Yes. So what I find that is compelling, so if you have a company that's sort of in that, I'll call it old school sales mentality, showing them how the CRM gives you data that a salesperson can use, like behavioral data. So for instance, showing them a contact record in HubSpot and how I can see how many times Kurt Anderson visited my website, which pages he's going to, what he's downloaded. And it tells me all these behavioral cues that he's a warm lead rather than a cold lead. And that usually to me seems to be the first tipping point. And then I'll say something like, and we can save lots of money by having this one platform that I can measure everything off of. I know what's working, what's not. So we're not guessing and wasting marketing dollars on things that aren't producing results.
Perfect, guys. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, we've got a few minutes here. How important is it today to have a platform online like a customer portal where customers can place orders directly online?
Yeah, Kurt, I'm gonna have both of us answer this one because that's your expertise. So I'll give my take first, and then I'd love to hear yours. So specifically for ordering products online, it depends on the complexity of the products and the price point. So the more complex and the higher price point, the more difficult that is to have someone complete a purchase like they would, the lower price stuff. Now, configurators, where you go in and configure a system, for instance, or play around with something, those are a great thing at that system level purchase. So I think you don't invest in e-commerce first. You invest in your website and your content and building trust and making sure all of that is built out. And then look at ways to add interactivity, whether that's, that store or some other way where people can get further faster, looking up inventory, for instance, all great ways to use modern web features to help take friction out of the buyer's process. What do you think, Kurt?
Well, man, all right. So thank you for asking that question. That's like, and I would take all day on that. So that's my jam right there. So first off, you want to buy Wendy's book, Content Marketing Engineered. It's on Amazon. And what you can do is you can bundle it with my mom's favorite book. My mother's favorite son wrote a book. It's called Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. And it's a manufacturing e-commerce resource guide. There isn't a manufacturer on the planet that I don't think shouldn't be in e-commerce. I'm a little bit biased. So yeah, I think it is. So here's a funny thing, Wendy. So I have a little LinkedIn live show that I do a couple of days a week. I think a number of you have caught it or been guests or whatever. Wendy was just my guest this Friday. There's a woman, she's a CEO of Gen Alpha Technologies, great e-commerce firm in Milwaukee. And she was a guest of ours. And she goes on this little diatribe, and it's hysterical because I just cut the clip the other day. She says, your customer loves you, wants a relationship with you, but they don't want a relationship with you over the O-ring. They don't want a relationship with you over tracking information. They don't want a relationship with you over where your customer is in a pipeline. And it is hysterical.
I love it.
I echo that.
Yeah.
I share that. And so, and Wendy just hit it repeatedly. They want to come to you. They want a relationship for high level needs. But put those customer service, it's called digital self-serve, man.
Yes.
Your customers deserve it. You deserve it. And if you want a competitive edge, if you want to separate yourself from the competition, man, I could go on. I could go on and on. So Wendy, we're exactly on the same page. So
yeah, I mean, pricing and inventory, you shouldn't have to talk to sales for that. So we hear, I want to do everything I can online. And then what, but they have to call for inventory? No.
Right.
Let's solve that.
So, hey, we have, and I love this comment, and Dan, I am totally guilty of this. I'll eat up the whole hour. So I love, Dan dropped a note. I love that a marketing person delivered their presentation in 45 minutes and is actually not running over and allowing time for questions. Dan, drop the mic, dude. That was like my favorite comment of the week. Karen, our dear friend, says Wendy is such a powerhouse. Guys, Cindy's asking about the book, and Wendy has it right on here. Content Marketing Engineered. I encourage you, invite you, welcome you. First off, check out her podcast. She invites wonderful folks on her podcast, high level. And when you even talk about, like, you'll invite competitors, right? And
yeah. I mean, look, this is a big ocean of, we're all in this together, trying to get better, and plenty of companies and agencies to go around. So absolutely.
Oh, so Cindy said, no, your mom's favorite book. So my mom's favorite book is called Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. And so, yeah, my mom, man, she loves that book. So anyway, hey guys, any other comments? Let's see. Whitney's here today. Whitney, thank you for being here. She wants to see the QR code. Whitney dropped the book. Guys, any other questions in here? And I want to share this real quick. There's a QR code. I want to say this about Wendy. Wendy, you can plug your ears. And every time you're on my live show, I say this. There's marketers out there that are cobbler's kids with no shoes. Kind of go to their website and they're like, man, I'm so busy working on clients that my website's not the best. Wendy's website is phenomenal. She has courses, she has guides, she has her podcast, she has her book. She totally walks the walk. She is purely dedicated to helping her manufacturers. She's been around since 2008. 15 years is, her success is not by accident. So please go to True Marketing, TREW, go to True Marketing, and you absolutely want to check this out. Will you drop the PowerPoint to attendees? When did you pass your PowerPoint along, or what do you do?
Yes, I would be happy to. If you guys send, I have an email of all the registrants today, so we'll just send an email out with it.
Yeah, Wendy, what we'll do is we'll connect, guys. I'm recording this. This is on my Zoom account, and what I'll do is I'm recording this. I'm going to drop it on Vimeo, and Wendy, why don't you and I connect, and we could just make that one email, not to bog down everybody's email.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We'll send
I wanted to show real fast, because you mentioned my website and guides. We were talking about pillar pages and pages behind a form, but one other trend, since we have just a little bit of time, I wanted to touch on is the idea of, so like the research report, we used to put the whole thing like, here's what we, bullet, download it. Now we're moving to this guide format where about 80% of the content is freely available and the other 20% is behind a form. And we did that. It's a bit of an SEO play, and it lowers the bar, So I just wanted to mention that, I'm trying to find here we go. So like, here's the research page as an example, 80% of the research right here. But if you want to download this research, past research, then you have to fill out a form. So this is something for you guys to consider. Another trend is having one login for all of your gated content. So you see Siemens and others. I think a couple of you actually, when I was looking at websites of the attendees, a couple of you are doing that. So consider playing with this. Now, I will say your lead count will go down when you have more of it free, obviously. But it's kind of that balance, that tension between SEO and what's freely available versus what's behind a form. So things to think about.
Wendy, another quick question from our friend Karen. How do you keep the powers that be, that's a popular term today, the powers that be, focused so they can actually answer this questions about personas? Man, it's like herding cats. What do you think about that question?
Yeah. So I think you have to have strategy sessions over this, right? Get everybody in a room. If you're virtual, maybe it's a series of virtual meetings, but ideally in one room with sales and executives and marketing. It's great, and have a structured discussion over it. So yeah, that's how we do it. works well. You can see we have an ebook on brand positioning and messaging, and it has some of that information. One other thing to mention is customer interviews are very, very powerful. So you're not just having that institutional knowledge over what we think about this persona and what we think their perceptions are of our brand, but we're giving their voice. And so that's a very powerful thing to have in the mix. And it makes people want to attend because they want to hear the customer feedback. So they're less likely to blow it off or deprioritize it.
Right. Karen says, if I hear depends one more time. So we're coming to the top of the hour, guys. Any other questions? We're going to stick around. Wendy, I have a question for you. Let's take, man, we have so many friends out here. If you're cutting out, first off, thank you. You know what, but if you need to cut off, how about before you leave, if you've been sitting for the past 15 minutes or so, I invite you, encourage you, welcome you. Why don't you stand up, give a little stretch, and how about a big standing ovation here for our dear friend, the amazing, the incredible Wendy Covey, for just absolutely crushing it today. She's just an absolute rock star. Hey, we got finger snapping, we got clapping. So guys, lots of virtual hugs and high fives. Check out Wendy's website, go to True Marketing. Wendy, before we cut out, let's take, we've got my friend Phyllis, we had Marcia, Laura Swenson here today, a lot of wonderful folks I've worked with in the past, great manufacturers. And guys, Wendy and I both, you are the heroes of our economy, man. As manufacturers, it's such an honor and privilege to work with you guys. You truly are the backbone of our economy here in the great United States of America. Wendy, small manufacturer, 20, 30 folks, they're trying to get this whole content marketing thing. You had a great suggestion, like, man, get the engineer with we need a journalist major on board. If they say man, I don't have that journalist. What's any suggestions on where do we align ourselves to just get off the runway of creating content? Where can you find that person that could interview the internal subject matter expert or the engineer? Any suggestions, advice?
Yeah, I mean, that's what agencies are here for. And there are freelancers that do that as well. So what to look for in that person is ask for some writing samples and find out, what they've written about. Have they written highly technical content? Have they written for things that relate to applications that you solve or products you manufacture? So, they're going to get it more quickly the closer they are to your industry. They don't necessarily need to have an engineering degree to do this, but they need to show that they have high aptitude for writing to technical audiences. So for instance, my writers, I have one that has her engineering undergrad and she has a master's in writing and journalism. And then the rest of mine are all journalism majors, and they all do a great job. They're very methodical, very detail oriented. It just takes someone who's willing to put in the sweat equity to get it right.
Yeah. And that's so critical because you can't have your nephew typing about some type, a technical wire harness that goes in, it has to be authentic. You talked about chat, GBT and AI, it has to be true and authentic. And again, Wendy's put together as a matter of fact, we just had one of your team members on our live show a couple of weeks ago. She is Morgan Norris, is absolutely amazing, incredible. Very dedicated, passionate, again, helping manufacturers figure out this whole thing. Guys, before we wind down, any other parting thoughts, questions, comment from Karen again, the Kurt and Wendy, the dynamic duel. You didn't disappoint. Looking forward to the next one. So, hey, Wendy, we might have to take this on the road. We're having so much fun.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. So any other, before, I know it's March Madness. People are probably, I'm not sure what time basketball starts, if it already started, but Purdue doesn't play till tomorrow. I checked. And so guys, I know we've got a little time. How would you advise someone that wears both a marketing and sales hat? That's a great question, Josh. Wendy, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one, if you wear that sales hat, that helps your marketing hat, right? Because that means you're close to the customer, you're hearing what their concerns are, their objections, you're getting in their head. So as you put on your marketing hat, think about how you can create content to address those frequently asked questions. And imagine as a salesperson, how much shortcut you can have if you're not having to answer the same thing over and over. Your website, your web content is doing it for you. So I think that's actually a very powerful combo.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah. And we talk about that a lot. I know our mutual friend, my business partner, Nicole Donnelly, she calls it smarketing, right? How can we get into in smarketing? So guys, I know, man, Wendy, what an amazing job. We're right smack at the top of the hour. You just delivered just priceless gems, a wealth of information, guys, for you to just really separate yourself from the pack, make your company more competitive, stop being the best kept secret, get out there, connect with Wendy on LinkedIn, check out her website. Again, she has guides, she has webinars, she has podcasts, her book, all sorts of valuable information just for you to win the game. Drop her a note. Her or somebody on her team would love to talk to you guys about how they can help you. Wendy, parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share with our esteemed friends. And of course, I want to give a little round of applause to Purdue before we round. I know people are cutting out. Phyllis, thank you for joining us, my friend. And man, we had a great chat the other day. Wendy, any words of wisdom, parting thoughts to share with everybody before we close it out for today?
Yeah, if you're feeling overwhelmed, start with one persona, one application area, one thing, and use that as your model. Create that pillar page, prove it out, and then you can repeat that success with other areas in the future.
Great. Man, what a great way to end. So, hey, guys, we've got a couple of folks. My friend Julie's here. I think I saw a couple other friends from Purdue MEP. If you're not engaged with your local MEP, if you're in Indiana, obviously reach out to the Purdue MEP. They can help you with just about anything. They are just incredible, an incredible resource for manufacturers. Our country is so blessed to have the manufacturing extension partnerships. If you're coming to us, we had some friends from Texas, or you're coming to us, or we had friends in Chicago. If you're coming to us from another state, man, reach out to your local MEP. They are here to serve. They are dedicated and passionate of helping manufacturers win the day. So guys, we're going to cut it down. And so we will send out the replay. We will send out the slides. And boy, thank you for taking your time. And again, one last round of applause for our dear friend, Wendy. Wendy, it is such an honor collaborating with you, my friend. Thank you for sharing your passion, expertise with us today. So we appreciate you.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, guys. So, hey, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Stay safe. Throw on your green for tomorrow. Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. So have a great, wonderful weekend. Enjoy March Madness. And so we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Okay. Man, great job, Wendy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Phyllis is still here. Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Alan. So, hey, that was awesome. Great job.
All right. Well, I'm happy to send out the recording in addition to